Welcome to the Glow Up with Shaunia Ellis, where we inspire and empower you to glow up in every area of your life. We are so excited for the show on today. We have a Glow Girl interview by Dianelle Laney, and we have entertainment by Melodic Movements. So stay tuned for this awesome show on the Glow Up with Shaunia Ellis. We are back. I am super excited to have Miss Dianelle Laney. Oh my gosh, her story is amazing. And like I told you guys before we went to break, you are going to hear some of the things that she had to endure, some of the things that she went through and was able to overcome. And this is going to help a lot of you who feel like you're in a place that is stagnant or a place that you just can't move past your trauma. So Dianelle, I'm excited to have you on the show.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. So tell me what it is that you do. Tell the viewers.
I work for King County Behavioral Health. I am peer support, and we work for the OIT, which is Opioid Intervention Team.
Awesome.
So we help families and we help people that are addicted to opioids try to regain their life, recover. If need be, we get them into treatment, long-term facility or short-term. We help educate families. And the biggest thing that we do is we train with Narcan.
Oh, tell us about it.
Yep. Narcan is naloxone, which is a drug that we use to stop the overdose.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I seen something about that recently. I think the state had something where you could get that for people who might be going through an OD, and that has stopped them from, I guess, dying on the spot. Yeah. But I love that, and I used to do that too, actually. I used to work on a detox unit. But tell us how that is, because I know the epidemic has grown over the years. So what are some of the things that you're seeing in the line of work that you're in now?
Well, we also have emergency. We work through the weekend, and the reason why I said that is because we do a lot of hospital calls.
Okay.
And a lot of things that's happening now, people are in fear, so they may just drop them off at the hospital, walk away, or they leave them.
Fear of getting in trouble?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. But Maryland has Good Samaritan law, which covers you. So if you walk up on someone and they have a needle sticking out their arm, they can't get in trouble, you can't get in trouble. What we care about is the life.
Right.
So you can give them the Narcan and you can stay with the person until the EMTs get there.
Awesome. And you know, the crazy thing about it is we talk about it, but I think everybody knows someone that's on drugs.
Yes.
Everybody knows someone who's dealing with this, but I was telling somebody recently, people just don't choose to be on drugs.
Absolutely.
Something happens, something triggers them to say, you know, I have to numb this pain. So how, with your story, are you able to relate to some of what made you get into the field that you're in right now?
Well, my father was a heroin addict for most of my life. And at the time I was young, and so I really had a lot of resentment towards him because he wasn't available. And then I started dating drug dealers, and I really, can I just be honest, I really didn't have respect for people that did drugs. So I dated a drug dealer, and then I started selling drugs with the drug dealer. And I was like, they just doing it because they want to do it. I had that stigma that everybody else had, plus the resentment from my father. But how I stopped selling drugs was I went to visit my mother, and she's this little short church lady that was very strict, and I grew up in the church. So I went to visit her, and she said, I'm going to buy you a gun. And I said, what? Because my mother doesn't believe in guns.
Yeah.
I was like, what? And, you know, and I was blinged out. I had my earrings on, my rings, my clothes. Because, you know, I come through the salt and pepper era, 80s and 90s. So, and I said, what are you talking about? And she was like, you should just go and shoot people because you're killing them.
Oh, wow.
She said, why waste your time? And I was so humiliated and so hurt and embarrassed, for one, because I didn't think she knew, But how could she not?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, the clothes I was wearing and the different cars, because I don't know why drug dealers rent cars. Like, that doesn't make sense. We're selling drugs. Can we just buy a car already?
Right.
So,
But this is true.
you know, it makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
So, you know, after that, it really weighed heavy on me about the whole drug dealing thing and dating the drug dealers. But I like the excitement, and I really didn't have a lot of guidance at the particular time because I left home at 16. So that's why I said I went home to visit my mother.
Yeah.
But so my father, back to him, he was a heroin addict, and I didn't find out until I think I was in my late 20s, early 30s that he didn't choose to be a heroin addict. He was a Vietnam vet, and he came home. He had a plate in his head, and he had post-traumatic stress disorder, which I now have. But so he self-medicated. So I wasted all those years like hating him, and then when he reached out to me, because he ended up in jail, and he contracted HIV from using dirty needles. And he reached out to me from prison, actually through my son's father, the drug dealer. He was like, I met your dad, he wants you to come see him. And at the time, I wasn't in the right place, and I was like, no, we're not gonna go see him. Long story short, he died like 6 months later. And I really didn't feel anything when he passed. But my brother called me up and he said, Danielle, I'm so sad. You know, Dad died and I didn't get a chance to say goodbye. I said, what are you crying for? I didn't get a chance to say hello. You know, so I mean, I didn't, the last image I have of him was him beating on my mother.
Right.
And I was in kindergarten. So I just really didn't have any remorse for him until I learned the truth in my late 20s, and then I felt remorse, and we never got a chance to make it right. So that's my passion now.
Yeah.
I want to help families. I want to help people get clean and live a sober life, be in recovery, because it can work.
Yes.
So.
And that's a powerful story of how you even got into it.
Yes.
But you can help other families who currently have someone going through addiction to be there, to be a support, because you never know when someone's last day is going to be. But I hope that has been released from your heart. Like, I hope you're at peace with that.
Yes, now. I know.
Because you know better when you have more knowledge of things.
Exactly.
Yeah. So our stories are similar, not in the manner of having a drug abuser as a father, but I do remember the life of selling drugs. I do remember the life of just living fast, just having a fast life. But tell me, I know that we did an exciting interview at an event, and I had met Danielle recently. I really loved her spirit, her personality. She's very upbeat, very fun, and I just wanted to do an audience reaction at an event that we were at, and come to find out she had been through some things that you would never think by looking at her. So some of the things that she discussed and some of the things that she revealed that day we're going to talk about.
Okay.
So one of the things that I brought up during our interview was that May is the month of trauma awareness.
Yes.
And you talked to me about one of the things that you've endured as far as trauma. Can you tell the viewers what that was?
Absolutely. Well, first let me say this is a piece that we really didn't go over, but I was molested by my uncle when I was young. And that's very important. That kind of adds to the post-traumatic stress disorder that I have or had, because I don't claim it.
Right.
But anyway, so I was molested by my uncle, and I never told anybody until I was in my 20s. 20s was a real rough time for me. That's when I'm, really starting to know myself. So, my uncle molested me, and I never told my mother or anyone, but I had behaviors that were much to be desired. I honestly didn't find out I was intelligent until I was in my late 20s.
Wow.
Because I wasted so much time in school.
Right.
I was at the point in school that no one could say anything to me. I was always fighting. So my And then at one point, if I had to go to my grandmother's house, I wouldn't take showers. So then I got teased about that, but it wasn't that I didn't want to take a shower. I was afraid to go in the bathroom because that's where it would happen.
Right.
So I was like, I'm just not going in there.
Right.
You know? So moving forward, after the rape in 2008, I just moved back home from Charlotte. And I just started working. I was working 2 jobs. I had 3 children at the time, and my mother was disabled. So I just kept myself real busy, but I was getting angrier and angrier. And I ended up getting into a fight in the parking lot trying to help this girl whose boyfriend was beating her up. And at this particular point, I snapped because I'd had enough of men abusing women.
Right.
So I ended up fighting him, and then she got mad with me, so I had to beat her up too. So I beat both of them up, me and my cousin.
Okay.
And then I felt really bad, and then a family member said to me, you know, you're always angry. You know, you should think about getting some help. I was like, I don't need no help, you know. So, but then I thought about it, and my son saw me beat the couple up, and I'm thinking, I don't want to raise him this way.
Right.
And I remembered I had gotten some counseling years past because that same uncle that molested me, he got stabbed like 13 times, something like that. I don't remember the number, but my sister knocked on the door and she was like, you know, Uncle got stabbed, he's at the hospital, we're all going over. And I would look out the window, I was like, okay. And then when I finally went to see him, no one else was there, it was just him and I.
Oh, no.
And I stood there looking at him, and I remember thinking, you got what you deserved. But then when I got in my car and I went to pick my son up, I just broke. I was like, you can't live like this. You cannot, no one deserves that, regardless.
Yeah.
I didn't deserve it, he doesn't deserve it. So I started getting help then for the molestation, and I was doing very well until the rape.
So let me ask you this before you go into the rape. During the part of your story where you talked about you were molested, you said you didn't say anything. And I find that a lot of people who have been molested, who've been raped, their first thing is, I don't want to tell anybody. What was it that made you say, I just want to be silent?
It was my mother's brother. I was humiliated, and honestly, I felt dirty because I had big breasts, and that was the first thing he would go for. And I felt like if I didn't have these breasts, maybe this wouldn't happen. And then I thought nobody would believe me, and it's going to break the family up. You know, how he eventually stopped was one morning he went to touch me, and I was in the kitchen, and I snapped. I threw the cereal down. I said, I'm telling you now, if you touch me again, I don't want to say the rest of it.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
And he was like, you don't like it when I touch you? And I was like, no. And he left me alone after that.
Wow.
So I stood up for myself. I really stood up for myself. He probably thought I was a crazy person because I just snapped in the kitchen.
Well, if that's what it took. Yeah. So it was no threats of you better not tell.
No.
Okay. It was basically feeling ashamed
Yes.
if you told, which is common. Yeah. So tell us about the rape. And I know we're probably, we're going to take a break soon, but I want to at least get the beginning of what happened.
Okay. Well, I moved to Charlotte. I was doing pretty well, and I was taking a business class, and I met this guy in business class. And, you know, I'm just going to be honest. I had issues back then with these men, you know, light skin with the curly hair. And
you like that? The Albie Shores.
Yes.
You like
I grew up
that?
in that era.
Okay.
And, oh, my God, he was so fine. So we started dating, and at the time I was in cosmetology school, trying to finish up and get my license, and I was taking a business class. And he used to come to the school and bring me flowers and candy and all that good kind of stuff. So moving forward, he was on drugs, and I didn't know it back then. And so one day he came to get my car, and because he would always pick my car up and wash it and change the oil, like he was so awesome like that. So I trusted him with my car. So he came to get my car, and he never came back.
Never brought the car back.
He never brought the car back.
Mhm.
So my teacher, the one who warned me about him, she didn't even know him. She said, something about him I don't like, Danielle.
Wow.
And I was like, this is what women do, and we need to stop.
Mhm.
When people try to give us signs and warnings, maybe you don't have to stop seeing the person, but maybe you should sit back and watch and see what is it that they're seeing that you
Mhm.
can't see.
Right.
But my mind immediately went to, why is she hating?
You thought she was jealous?
Because he was bringing me flowers
Mhm.
and candy and
Yeah.
clothes, and he would pull up like I just felt like the queen.
Right.
And that was the attention that I needed at the time, because I had just gotten out of an abusive relationship, and that's the reason why I moved to Charlotte.
Gotcha.
So, so anyway, he never came back. I called the police. The same teacher had to take me home.
That told you not to deal
Yes,
with him.
yes.
Okay.
So now I'm really humiliated, and I'm not saying anything, and I'm like, and she's giving me the riot act,
Mhm.
And so I called the police, and they said, well, there's nothing we can do because you gave him the car.
Mm.
And he was like, if the car doesn't return in 48 hours, then you can file a report.
Okay.
So I was like, okay. Well, the next day, he called me up and he brought my car to the school. And we're leaving school, and I'm like, oh, and when he showed up with a negligee, perfume, flowers. But I wasn't, at this particular point, I'm not impressed.
Right.
Now you're getting ready to meet Danielle. Like, I know how to be a little hood.
Right.
I used to sell drugs. Like, you are not going to get away with this. So, but I didn't know that, he was a couple of french fries short of a Happy Meal.
Oh, my.
You can't address him
Yeah.
the same way you dress other men, I don't know. But I was like, I don't want that.
Mhm.
Give me my car. He was like, I'm driving. Well, people are coming out of school, so I don't want to, make a scene.
Mhm.
So I was like, Danielle, just get in the car. You're going to get him when you get in this car. So when I get in the car, we're arguing back and forth. Next thing I know, he punched me in my stomach. Took the breath out of me. And because, I'm a fighter. And I was like, but I couldn't get my wind together.
Right.
By this time, we pull up at the kids' daycare. Now we're picking up the children. And he gets out so nice.
As if he didn't just punch you.
Yes, but
Wow.
now I gotta get out because I don't want my kids to see this. So
Yeah.
I'm playing it off like, I'm struggling to breathe at this point.
Wow.
Wanting to pick something up and bust him upside his head, but I didn't. So we get in the car, we go back to the house. I send the kids in the house, and I told my oldest son, I said, take them in the house, take them upstairs in the loft, and that's where I want you to stay. Because at this particular point, it's about to be
It's
on.
going to be on. But before you tell us what's next, we are going to take a break because it's about to be on. So we're going to hear what happened with this amazing story. I'm telling you, it's going to touch you and it's going to help you to have the tools to overcome. So meet us after the break, and we'll be back with Miss Dianelle Laney on the Glow Up.
Welcome back to the Glow Up with Shaunia Ellis. We are so excited about our entertainment. We have Melodic Movements, a performing arts studio and program out of Wilmington, Delaware, established by the phenomenal founder, Melody Dale. We are excited and pleased to showcase this awesome and talented dance group. So sit back and enjoy this powerful performance by Melodic Movements.
It's truly a pleasure to be back here at Hornet Country. I am also a proud alumni, class of 2015 in the building. Yes, we are Melodic Movements dance team. We are housed in Wilmington, Delaware. We are a nonprofit dance program. Our mission is to provide affordable and quality dance instruction. What makes our program different from other dance studios or organizations is that God is our foundation. We keep God in everything and all that we do. And so today we are performing one of our original pieces called Change Me. And as we move into this Holy Week, I just ask that you guys worship with us as we dance today. Allow us to minister through dance and allow God to speak to your heart. We all sin and we all fall short of the glory of God. So we just ask that you pray for us as we minister today through dance. Thank you.
wash me through and through. Just create in me a clean heart, so that I may worship you.
going to tell us her story. Where we left off, she had got punched in her stomach. They were at the daycare, and it was about to be on. So tell us what happens next.
Okay, so we get the children, we get to the house. I send them upstairs with my older son. And I turned and I looked at him. I said, you must be crazy. If you think you're going to hit me and get away with it. So now we're arguing back and forth, and now I done popped him upside the head. Like, I'm not playing.
Right.
But I noticed something about him that was a little different. He was very aggressive, and at this particular point, I realized I can't beat him.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
his strength came from something else. And, but I didn't recognize it at the time. So he was like, I'm taking your car. And I was like, I'm not giving you permission to take my car this time. And I got out the car, and he backed out and skidded wheels and left in my car. I was like, got him. So I called the police. I said, he got my car. I did not give him permission this time to take my car. So the police came. They did what they had to do. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. I am asleep. Now, remember, he has my car.
Right.
Oh, I forgot to tell you that I told him during the argument, I don't want you. I don't want a relationship with you. This is over. Okay? 4 o'clock in the morning, I hear this loud bang on the door. And I jumped up off the bed. I lived in a split-level home. So my room was adjacent to the living room.
Gotcha.
And so I jumped up and I looked, and he was coming in the door, and I said, what are you doing here? You know, I said his name. And he was like, I know you have a man in here, right? And so he's going through my house looking for a man. I'm like, Lord, don't let my kids wake up. They're upstairs.
Right.
So at this particular point, this is a little, but I'm okay. At this particular point, he snatches me off the bed, and I started fighting. Like, I fought him. I felt like it was for hours. Maybe it was 10 minutes. I don't know.
It just felt like it could have been hours.
Yes, and we were just fighting, hitting. At one point, I fell over the bed. He fell on top of me. I thought that was it. But then I thought about my other uncle who taught me how to fight, and he was like, if someone's on top of you, never think that it's over. And I just started thinking about him, so I just bit him. I'm like, he gonna get up off of me. So he gets up and he drags me with him. At this particular point, he has me at the window and he's choking me. And at this point, I'm tired. Like, we've been fighting a long time.
Yeah.
He's trying to take my clothes off. We're fighting. And I just stood there and I closed my eyes and I started praying. And I was like, God, please don't let my kids wake up and find me dead.
Oh, God.
And I didn't even realize he had released his hands from my neck, because at this particular point, I'm just praying. I'm like, God, please help me. You know, I don't want to die this way. And when I finally opened my eyes, he was just standing there staring at me. And he was like, you something else. At that particular point, I knew he couldn't kill me.
Right.
So I was like, just do whatever he says so you can survive. And that's the mode that I was in. So he got a belt, and he beat me with the belt. I didn't fight at this point. He made me perform services on him, and he did services to me that I would never have elected to do.
Okay.
And when he was raping me, he was choking me, and I probably could have bit him again, but at this point, I just want him to do what he needs to do so he can leave.
Good go.
But that didn't happen. He did not leave, and he kept my arm bent behind him the whole time, because he was behind me at one particular point, and he wouldn't let me go. And I forgot to tell you, he took my phone, he busted it up. So I didn't have a cell phone or nothing, and this whole time my children are upstairs. And I'm like, Lord, please just keep them up there. So when morning came, my oldest son knocked on the door, because I'm usually up, preparing, I'm getting ready to either go to work or school. And he said, Mom, the kids are hungry, and this crazy man says, oh yeah, just give them some cereal, your mom's not feeling well. My son, I think he was about maybe he's about 11, I don't know. So he was like, oh, okay. He was like, yeah, you can feed him in the loft. So at this point, I'm like, I don't want my son to get upset and then try to fight him, you know. So I was like, okay, Danielle, hopefully he's gonna leave soon. And I was like, you know, you can take the car. And he was like, do you love me? I was like, yes. The whole time I'm like, no. And he was like, are you scared of me? I was like, no. And my phone kept ringing and ringing because I thought that he had cracked it completely up, but he didn't, because it kept ringing. And I said to him, I said, that's my job. If you don't let me call my job, they're going to send the police. I said, because I don't miss work, and that's true.
Right.
Like, I never miss work. So he gave me his phone, and I called my job, and they were like, what's going on? Like, are you coming in? And I was like, I looked at him, I was like, you going to let me go to work? And he was like, yes, but I'm taking you. That's all I wanted, was to get out the house. So I didn't take a shower or nothing. I just put my clothes on. I get to work, and my supervisor was like, what? Mind you, he took me to work in my car. I just want to let you know that.
Oh, my.
I get to work, and my supervisor's like, what in the world happened to you? And I was like, I don't want to talk about it right now. Let's just go in your office. I wasn't even in her office 5 minutes, and I get a call over the loudspeaker. And it's him. She was like, put it on speakerphone. So this is him. Hey, babe, I'm about to bring your car back, and I think we need to just break up, because once a man put his hands on you, chances are he's going to do it again.
Wow.
But I still love you. I said, okay, are you bringing my car now? And he was like, yeah, I'm on my way. So she was like, let's call the police. I said, no, we're not, because my kids are home by themselves, and I need to get them out the house. Now, after I get my children, we can do whatever needs to be done. So I called the battered women's shelter, because I was there before. And the lady said, we have a spot for you. Danielle, call me. We'll have the police meet you at the hospital. I said, okay. And I get out. Well, my supervisor was like, I'm not going to allow you to go outside by yourself. I was like, you cannot let anybody walk me to my car, because it's going to be
It'll set them off.
You have no idea. So this guy walked out. I'm just going to say his name is Bob. Bob walks out. I said, you just linger over there. I'll give you a sign when I'm okay, you know. So he pulls up, and I get in the car. I'm excited. I'm like, I'm getting out of here, you know. And he's like, he leans in the car, and he was like, yeah, like I told you before, if a man puts his hands on you, he's going to do it again. And you're too beautiful for me to keep putting my hands on you. He was like, but I love you, and you're my wife, and I'm coming back for you. I said, okay. I'm thinking, just get me out of here.
Right.
So at this particular point, this lady pulls up in this SUV out of nowhere, blocks my car in. I'm like, Jesus. I said, Lord, you got this. I'm like, and she was like, we're just going to call him Kevin. She was like, Kevin, get in the car. You need to leave that hoe alone. And this, that, and the third.
Oh, my.
Something inside of me snapped. The old Danielle.
Came back.
At this particular point, I don't care about nothing, okay? I get out the car. Now I'm in the car. Why did I get out the car? I'm still asking myself this. I get out the car. I say, you and this crackhead better get away from me now. Like, you know. And he was like, I ain't no crackhead. So now we're fighting in the parking lot. Mind you, I forgot to tell you, I already sent the guy back in. Because I'm like, I'm in my car, I got my keys, you know. Honey, we fighting. And she was like, stop, Kevin, stop. That's enough. The cops are going to come. He jumps in the car. They speed off. I jump in the car because I'm thinking, what if he goes to my house? So now I'm trying to rush to get home. And in the meanwhile, I'm on my way home, and I'm thinking, oh, my God, what am I going to do? You know? So when I get home, I get my son's phone. I said, you guys just pack some stuff. And I called his brother. He says, Danielle, what is going on? And I said, I told him what happened. And he was like, remember when I asked you if you were scared of him and you said no? I said, yeah, that was in the beginning.
Wow.
You should have. Yes. I said, you should have told me, gave me more information. And he said, I knew he was going to do this. He's not allowed in our house. He can't even go to my mom's house. He was like, but I'm going to tell you this, you'll never be safe in Charlotte again. He was like, you're going to have to leave Charlotte. He said one girl, he drove her into a brick building, made her take off her seatbelt.
Oh my gosh.
He beat and raped another girl, and he was like, I don't know what to tell you. He said, you're not going to be safe. Once he get his clutches in you, and that's what he wants, that's what he wants. So I hang up the phone, we're packing stuff. The brother calls me back and said, I just called him up and laid him out. Now he's pissed, he's on his way to your house.
Oh gosh.
I said, just grab the asthma machine, let's go.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't get our stuff. You know, go to the hospital, which the examination to me, I don't know what's worse, honestly. The rape or the examination.
Going through the examination.
But I knew because I watched CSI that I had to get that examination. And I just wanted to cry because I was so humiliated. And now we're back at the battered women's shelter with my children. And I had a beautiful home, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what happened with that. And I called my children's father and I said, I need to get out of Charlotte and I need to come home. And he sent me money and I packed what I could pack in my car and we drove all the way back to Maryland.
Wow.
But I forgot to tell you this part. I was at the battered women's shelter, so I'm on lockdown
Mm-hmm.
because they're looking for him. So I'm not allowed to leave unless I have an escort and I had to be in before dark.
Mm-hmm.
So the police officer that took over the case, he came to see me personally, and he said, Danielle, I wanted to come and just let you know that we got him. He's in jail, and I'm thinking freedom,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So I was like, come on, kids, we're gonna go out. So we proceed to go out. It wasn't even 24 hours later. He comes back and he says his girlfriend bailed him out. So now I'm back on lockdown.
Oh my gosh.
But guess what happened?
What's that?
He beat and raped her and stole her car. So he was at large again.
Mm-mm-mm. So did he end up going to jail?
Yes, absolutely.
Is he still in jail?
The
you
last
sure?
I heard, he was at a federal place for sex offenders.
Wow.
So I really need to check into that. See where he is.
Well, you long gone. So if he tried
Right.
to, you long. But let me ask you this, because
Mhm.
that is a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like sometimes you brought a lot of good points up in your story. For one, sometimes people who are in relationships sometimes don't always feel like it's rape because it's their significant
Mhm.
partner. Like I've heard of wives that have been raped by their husbands, even ex-wives, and they feel like because they had that relationship
Mhm.
that it's not rape. What would you say to women who are in that situation?
Try to get out of it. Get some help. Rape is rape. If you say no, I don't care who it is. The answer is no.
Right.
And no one has the right to overpower you and take something that God blessed you with.
I know that's so.
And that you should just try to get out of it because it's going to continue to happen.
Right.
And the rape is not as significant as the mental anguish that it brings to you. It caused me to have post-traumatic stress, anxiety, depression. I probably had OCD before then, but
It heightened it.
yes.
So I know that brought about, just going through that experience, we were talking about it in the previous interview, it brought about all those things of like low self-worth and you
Yes.
feeling, it was a time you said that you couldn't even look in the mirror.
Mhm.
Let's talk about that feeling of having to build your self-esteem back up. What would you say to people who are in that position, who are going through depression, going through low self-worth? How were you able to overcome?
It takes work. I'm spiritual. It took prayer and affirmations. I always put affirmations on my mirror, speaking to myself. Now, you might look a little crazy, but I talk to myself all the time. But I'm building myself up
Right.
constantly because it will creep in. Like, for instance, I'm talking about this today, and it makes me feel free, but I know when I leave here, I'm going to have to pray it off of me. Because I had to revisit it
Right.
all over again.
Mhm.
And I altered my body. Just to let you know, like from the molestation from my uncle,
Mhm.
I had a breast reduction in '99.
Oh, wow.
Because I felt like if my breast wasn't so big, men would talk to me and not my breast. And I felt like if I didn't have these, he wouldn't have been interested. So I had a breast reduction. And that really started like me spiraling down. I thought I was going to feel good about it, but then I felt bad about it. And then I didn't feel as attractive because that was a body loss.
Right.
And so no one knew, but I actually had low self-esteem. I actually didn't think I was beautiful. And people would say, "Oh, you look so pretty." I'd be like, "Really? Like, are we looking in the same mirror?" Now I know that I'm beautiful, and I know that I'm intelligent. I know that I'm a good person, but it took a lot of prayer. It took a lot of affirmations for myself. It took a lot of reading, and I journaled, and it was just self-care and self-work. And it was hard, but I made it through.
Right. And she has made it through on top because as you can see, Dianelle has overcome. I'm not even going to say she survived because she overcame. She's able to now sit here and talk about it. When you survive something, you live through it. But she was able to overcome and help others by sharing her story. And I am pushing Dianelle to get this book out because she has to let everybody else know how they can overcome some of the things that she's went through as well. Thank you so much for tuning into the Glow Up. Dianelle, thank you for being my guest.
having me.
You are awesome. Guys, stay tuned. I hope you will tune in for our next session, our next interviews in June. We have some exciting shows coming up. And this is Shaunia Ellis with the Glow Up. That concludes our show. I am so excited for our next show on next month. But be sure to tune in and make sure you're following us on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube at The Glow Up with Shaunia Ellis. We're going to have some live footage from different events. I hope you were able to tune in to see our educators of faith. We had a live segment there, and we also were at Fearless, Faith-Filled, and Free. And that was a conference for women, and we really enjoyed covering both of those. You can view those on the YouTube channel, and you can also view them on Facebook and Instagram at The Glow Up with Shaunia Ellis. Thank you so much for your support, and thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time on The Glow Up with Shaunia Ellis.